Have you ever felt like you're losing yourself in a relationship? Manipulators often thrive by pulling you away from your true self, making you doubt your values and decisions. But what if I told you there's a way to reclaim your power and protect your peace? In this video, we'll explore how focusing on inner virtue, the Stoic principle of living with integrity, can help you build stronger, healthier romantic relationships. Let's dive in. Master your emotions. Emotional equanimity. The manipulator's game. Manipulators thrive on emotional reactions. Whether it's anger, fear, or sadness, they aim to provoke strong feelings to control your decisions and behavior. Emotional volatility makes you predictable and easier to manipulate. Stoicism teaches us to master our emotions by recognizing that we control how we respond, regardless of external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This principle reminds us that no one can make us feel anything without our consent. How to apply this? Pause and reflect. When confronted with a manipulative situation, take a moment to pause. Instead of reacting immediately, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is this emotion serving me, or is it being used against me? A brief pause can interrupt the manipulator's control over your emotions. Shift your perspective. Recognize that emotions are temporary. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, emphasized that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Instead of letting your emotions dictate your actions, focus on the facts of the situation. Ask yourself, is this as bad as it seems, or am I amplifying it in my mind? This mental shift can neutralize emotional triggers. Practice emotional detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling emotions. It means you observe them without letting them control you. Picture your emotions as passing clouds. Acknowledge them, but don't let them overshadow your clarity. Building emotional equanimity. Daily reflection. Take 5 minutes each evening to reflect on moments when you felt emotionally triggered. Write down how you could have responded differently with greater calm. Mindful breathing. Use deep, slow breaths to ground yourself in the present moment. This simple practice can help you stay calm during heated interactions. Mantras and affirmations. Use Stoic-inspired affirmations like, "This is within my control," or "I choose how I respond." Repeating these during stressful moments can remind you of your inner power. When you master your emotions, manipulators lose their most potent weapon against you. By staying calm and composed, you force them to reconsider their tactics. They can't manipulate someone who refuses to be emotionally reactive. Emotional equanimity is not about suppressing feelings. It's about harnessing them with wisdom and intention. As Marcus Aurelius taught, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Detach from the outcome. Indifference to externals. Manipulators often play on your fears about potential outcomes. They create anxiety by making you worry about losing something important, your job, a relationship, or even your reputation. By focusing your attention on what you could lose, they steer your actions to benefit their agenda. Epictetus taught, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about these things." This means that it's not the outcome itself that causes distress, but the meaning you attach to it. When you let go of attachment to external results, you become immune to the manipulator's attempts to control you. Shift your focus to what you can control. Stoicism emphasizes the dichotomy of control. Within your control, your thoughts, actions, and choices. Outside your control, other people's opinions, external events, and outcomes. When you recognize that outcomes are not fully within your control, you can redirect your energy to what truly matters, your effort and integrity. Challenge fear-based thoughts. Manipulators often use fear to push you into compliance. To counter this, ask yourself, what's the worst that could realistically happen? Remind yourself, even if the worst happens, I can adapt and move forward. This reframing helps neutralize the fear of uncertainty and frees you to act from a place of rationality. Redefine success. Instead of measuring success by external outcomes, redefine it by the quality of your effort in alignment with your values. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Do every act of your life as though it were the last act of your life." By focusing on doing your best, you free yourself from worrying about external results. Building detachment from outcomes. Practice premeditation of adversity. Visualize potential outcomes, both good and bad, and prepare yourself emotionally to accept them. This Stoic exercise, known as premeditatio malorum, reduces the manipulator's ability to instill fear of the unknown. Create a personal mantra. Repeat phrases like, "I will do my best and accept the rest," to remind yourself of what truly matters. Celebrate the process. Recognize and honor the effort you put into situations, regardless of the outcome. This mindset shift keeps you grounded in your internal progress. When you detach from outcomes, manipulators lose their ability to instill fear or control your actions. Your focus shifts to what you can influence, your effort, decisions, and character. This makes you resilient and unshakable no matter the circumstances. As Epictetus wisely observed, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. By embracing indifference to externals, you reclaim your freedom and peace of mind. Strengthen your boundaries. Self-ownership. In romantic relationships, manipulators often test or erode your boundaries to gain control. They may pressure you into doing things you're uncomfortable with, dismiss your feelings, or make you question your worth. Over time, this undermines your sense of self, making you dependent on their validation. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. This Stoic wisdom underscores the importance of taking ownership of your emotions, values, and decisions. Your happiness and self-worth should never hinge on external approval, even from someone you love. How to strengthen your boundaries. Know your values. Boundaries stem from your core values. Ask yourself, what do I truly want in a relationship? What behaviors will I not tolerate? Write these down to clarify your non-negotiables. When you're clear on your values, you're less likely to compromise them for the sake of pleasing someone else. Communicate your boundaries clearly. Manipulators often exploit ambiguity. Be direct and assertive about your boundaries. For example, instead of saying, "I don't really like that," say, "I'm not comfortable with this, and I need it to stop." Remember, healthy partners will respect your boundaries, while manipulators will try to dismiss or test them. Recognize boundary violations. Be alert to signs of boundary pushing, such as frequent guilt tripping. "If you loved me, you'd do this." Invalidating your feelings. You're overreacting. Ignoring your requests. "I know you said no, but I thought I'd try anyway." Stoicism teaches us to observe situations objectively. Instead of rationalizing their behavior, acknowledge when your boundaries are being crossed. Stay grounded in self-respect. Seneca wrote, "What progress have I made? I am beginning to be my own friend." Strengthening your boundaries begins with respecting yourself. Remind yourself that you deserve a relationship where your feelings and needs are valued. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you authentic. You are not responsible for someone else's reactions to your boundaries. Practical steps to build boundaries in romantic relationships. Practice saying no. Start small by saying no in low-stakes situations to build confidence. Over time, this will make it easier to enforce your boundaries in more significant matters. Set consequences. If someone repeatedly violates your boundaries, establish clear consequences. For example, if you keep dismissing my feelings, I will take some space to protect my well-being. Seek support. Discuss your boundaries with trusted friends or a counselor to reinforce your resolve and gain perspective. A manipulator's goal is to control, but strong boundaries render them powerless. Boundaries signal that you are the sole owner of your emotions, decisions, and values. This self-ownership aligns with Stoic principles as it places your peace of mind within your control, not in someone else's hands. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By strengthening your boundaries, you create a relationship dynamic based on respect and mutual growth, rather than manipulation and control. Control the narrative. Clarity of thought. In romantic relationships, manipulators often control the narrative by twisting facts, withholding information, or creating confusion. They might gaslight you, making you question your perception of reality. That never happened. You're imagining things. Blur boundaries between truth and lies, leaving you doubting your intuition. Redirect the conversation to avoid accountability or shift blame onto you. The goal is to distort your understanding of events, making it easier for them to manipulate your thoughts and actions. Epictetus advised, first, learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. This highlights the importance of clear thinking and communication. Stoicism teaches us to approach situations with logic and reason, cutting through confusion to see the truth. By maintaining clarity of thought, you can reclaim control of the narrative in your relationship. How to control the narrative? Ground yourself in facts. Manipulators often blur reality to create doubt. To counter this, keep a mental or physical record of events, especially recurring issues or disagreements. Write down what was said and done. Stick to objective facts during discussions rather than getting drawn into emotional or speculative arguments. For example, instead of saying, "You never care about me," say, "Last week when I expressed my feelings, you dismissed them." Ask direct questions. Manipulators avoid clarity by being vague. Force them to define their words and actions by asking precise, direct questions like, "What exactly do you mean by that? Can you explain why you said that?" This disrupts their ability to control the narrative and shifts the focus back to accountability. Separate emotion from logic. Manipulators thrive on emotional arguments to derail clarity. Use Stoic detachment to separate your emotions from the issue at hand. Pause before responding to emotional provocations. Ask yourself, what are the facts here and how can I respond rationally? Marcus Aurelius advised, if someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth. Let this mindset guide you as you evaluate their words. Stay calm and composed. Losing your temper hands control to the manipulator. Calmness conveys confidence and makes it harder for them to twist your words. Practice deep breathing or grounding techniques during heated discussions to maintain composure. Building clarity of thought in your relationship. Journal for perspective. After a disagreement, write down what happened. Reflect on your feelings, the facts, and any patterns of manipulation. Journaling can help you see the situation objectively. Set conversational boundaries. Refuse to engage in circular arguments or gaslighting attempts. For instance, you can say, "I won't continue this conversation if we're not being constructive." Strengthen self-awareness. Regular self-reflection helps you recognize when someone is steering the narrative in a way that doesn't align with the truth. Manipulators rely on confusion and emotional chaos to maintain control, but clarity of thought exposes their tactics. By grounding yourself in facts, asking direct questions, and staying calm, you regain control over the dynamic. As Epictetus reminds us, circumstances don't make the man. They only reveal him to himself. In romantic relationships, maintaining clarity allows you to see through manipulation and respond with integrity and wisdom. Practice delayed response, pausing before reacting. In romantic relationships, manipulators often provoke emotional reactions to control the situation. They may say something hurtful to trigger an argument. Maybe I should just find someone who actually understands me. Use urgency to pressure you into decisions. If you really loved me, you'd answer right now. Twist your reactions to make you feel guilty or unreasonable. By catching you off guard, they gain the upper hand and steer the conversation or outcome in their favor. Seneca wisely observed, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This reminds us that many of our emotional reactions stem from assumptions or fears, not from the actual situation. By pausing before reacting, we create space to evaluate the facts and respond with reason rather than emotion. How to practice delayed response. Recognize emotional triggers. Manipulators know how to push emotional buttons. To neutralize this, identify common phrases, behaviors, or situations that trigger you. When you notice the trigger, mentally label it as such. For example, "This is meant to provoke me." This recognition shifts your focus from reacting to understanding. Create a pause ritual. Before responding, implement a deliberate pause. This can involve counting to 10, a classic method to regain composure. Deep breathing. Take 3 slow, deep breaths to calm your nervous system and center your thoughts. Excusing yourself. If the situation allows, step away briefly by saying, "I need a moment to think about this." Ask yourself key questions. Use the pause to reflect on the situation. What is the real issue here? Am I about to react emotionally or rationally? How would I advise a friend in this situation? These questions help you detach from the heat of the moment and respond with clarity. Focus on long-term impact. Manipulators want you to react impulsively, but Stoicism teaches us to think beyond the present moment. Consider, will this matter in a week, a month, or a year? What response aligns with my values and the relationship I want to build? This perspective prevents you from saying or doing something you might regret. Practical techniques for delayed response. Practice active listening. Instead of immediately formulating a response, focus on understanding what your partner is saying. This not only buys you time, but also diffuses tension by showing you're engaged. Use neutral phrases. When pressed for an immediate response, say something like, "Let me think about that for a moment." "I hear what you're saying. I just need a little time to process." These phrases convey thoughtfulness without committing to a reaction. When you pause before reacting, you disrupt the manipulator's ability to control the dynamic. Instead of being drawn into arguments or pressured into decisions, you respond from a place of calm and confidence. This practice fosters mutual respect and healthy relationships while exposing manipulation and unhealthy ones. As Marcus Aurelius advised, you always have the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you cannot control. By mastering the art of delayed response, you protect your peace of mind and ensure your actions reflect your values, not someone else's agenda. Recognize and avoid ego traps. Humility. In romantic relationships, manipulators frequently exploit your ego to influence your behavior. They might overwhelm you with flattery to make you dependent on their validation. "You're the most amazing person I've ever met. I couldn't survive without you." Use criticism to provoke insecurity and make you overcompensate. "I don't know if you're really as caring as you think you are." Closing parenthesis ... Dangle approval as a reward for compliance. "If you were a good partner, you'd do this for me." These tactics lure you into ego traps where your sense of worth becomes tied to their perception of you, giving them control over your actions and emotions. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This Stoic principle teaches that self-worth should come from within, not from external validation or the approval of others. By practicing humility, you remain grounded and free from ego-driven manipulation. How to recognize and avoid ego traps. Identify ego-driven reactions. Manipulators exploit your desire to feel special or appreciated. To counter this, notice when compliments or criticisms trigger strong emotional reactions. Ask yourself, am I acting to prove something to them, or am I staying true to my values? Recognizing these triggers helps you detach your self-worth from external validation. Reframe flattery and criticism. Both excessive praise and harsh criticism are tools manipulators use to influence your behavior. Practice viewing them objectively. Flattery. Do their words align with their actions, or are they just trying to manipulate me? Criticism. Is this feedback constructive, or is it meant to control or belittle me? By staying neutral, you weaken their ability to steer your emotions. Cultivate internal validation. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our character rather than seeking approval. Strengthen your inner foundation by reflecting on your values and actions daily. Acknowledging your progress without needing external affirmation. For example, instead of relying on a partner's praise, tell yourself, I acted with kindness and integrity today, and that's enough. Stay grounded in reality. Manipulators may idealize or demonize you to destabilize your sense of self. Avoid being swept up in extremes by reminding yourself, I am neither as perfect as they claim nor as flawed as they suggest. I am simply human, doing my best. This balanced perspective shields you from ego traps. Practical steps to build humility in romantic relationships. Pause before responding to flattery or criticism. When your partner says something that feeds or challenges your ego, take a moment to reflect. Is this about my character or is it about their agenda? Journal for self-awareness. Write down instances where your ego influenced your behavior. Reflect on how you can act more authentically in similar situations. Seek external feedback cautiously. When seeking advice or validation, turn to trusted friends or mentors rather than relying solely on your partner's opinion. Ego traps are powerful tools for manipulation because they exploit a basic human desire to feel valued and significant. However, Stoicism reminds us that true strength and contentment come from within. By grounding your self-worth in your own actions and character, you render manipulative tactics ineffective. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. In romantic relationships, this means focusing on being the best partner you can be, independent of how others may try to define or control you. Through humility and self-awareness, you protect yourself from the manipulator's games and build a relationship based on mutual respect and authenticity. Focus on inner virtue, living with integrity. Manipulators often thrive on creating doubt, insecurity, and moral compromise in relationships. They may pressure you to act against your values. If you love me, you'll do this, even if it feels wrong to you. Criticize your moral decisions to destabilize your confidence. You're too rigid. No one lives like that anymore. Exploit your desire to be seen as a good person. If you were really kind, you'd forgive me and move on. The goal is to weaken your connection to your inner virtues, making you more susceptible to their influence. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Stoicism teaches us that living with integrity is the highest good. When your actions align with your principles, external forces, including manipulation, lose their power over you. Virtue is the foundation of inner peace and strength. How to focus on inner virtue in relationships. Clarify your core values. Start by identifying the principles that guide your life. Ask yourself, what kind of partner do I strive to be? What values are non-negotiable in my relationships? For example, honesty, respect, loyalty. Write these values down and revisit them regularly to ensure your actions align with them. Act according to your values, not emotions. Manipulative situations often stir up intense emotions, tempting you to act impulsively. To stay grounded, pause and ask yourself, does this action align with my values or am I reacting emotionally? Choose responses that reflect integrity, even if they're difficult. For instance, if your partner is dishonest, prioritize addressing the issue calmly and truthfully over ignoring it to keep the peace. Resist moral compromises. Manipulators may pressure you to go against your principles under the guise of love or loyalty. For example, they might say, if you trust me, you'll keep this secret even if it's wrong. Or, if you don't help me with this, it shows you don't care about us. A Stoic approach is to stand firm. Remember that compromising your values for someone else's benefit erodes your self-respect and inner peace. Own your mistakes. Living with integrity doesn't mean being perfect. When you make mistakes, acknowledge them honestly and take steps to improve. This demonstrates strength and authenticity, making it harder for manipulators to exploit guilt or shame. Practical steps to strengthen inner virtue in romantic relationships. Daily reflection. At the end of each day, reflect on your actions. Ask, did I act in line with my values today? How can I improve tomorrow? This practice, inspired by Stoic journaling, reinforces virtuous behavior over time. Practice small acts of integrity. Build the habit of virtue in everyday interactions. For example, be honest about your feelings, even when it's uncomfortable. Keep your promises, no matter how small. These actions cultivate self-trust and strengthen your moral foundation. Set boundaries around your principles. Let your partner know what values are important to you and why. For instance, respect and honesty mean everything to me. If I feel those are compromised, I'll need to address it immediately. Clear boundaries signal that you prioritize virtue over appeasement. When you live with integrity, you become unshakable. Manipulators lose their grip because they can't leverage guilt, shame, or insecurity against someone grounded in their values. More importantly, focusing on inner virtue fosters a sense of self-worth and peace that external forces cannot disrupt. As Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. By mastering yourself through the pursuit of virtue, you create a solid foundation for healthy, respectful relationships. And when faced with manipulation, you'll have the clarity and strength to walk away, knowing you stay true to who you are. Living with integrity isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about building relationships rooted in respect and authenticity. By staying true to your values, you not only shield yourself from manipulation, but also create space for genuine connection. If you found this helpful, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more insights on Stoicism and emotional resilience. Let me know in the comments, what's one core value you always strive to uphold in your relationships? See you in the next video.